Thank you all for joining us for the Housing Community Development 2021 Public Facilities Neighborhood and Development Program NOFA Pre-Proposal Conference. Before we get started, I would like to add that we will be taking questions at the end of the presentations. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat and on your comment section via Teams and or Facebook. We do have facilitators that will be facilitating us with those questions throughout this presentation. Any questions that are not answered during the presentations, we will address during our Q&A session of the presentation. Next. The agenda is as follows. If you're joining the call, I would ask if you guys can mute your mics when you're joining in. Thank you. And if we can get our facilitators to kind of assist us with that as well. I am Sharonda Liddell, a staff analyst with the Public Facilities Division. You'll be hearing from our Public Facilities Deputy Assistant Director, Anna Martinez, our Procurement Manager, Tawana Rhodes, our ADA Specialist, Mike Forenza, our Compliance Team, Crystal Boyce with MWSBE, Pair Play, Section 3, Melville Rodriguez with Davis Bacon, Environmental with Matthew Jenkins, and URA with Juan Barrera. Next. Assessing the NOFA. There has been a change to the link provided in the publication for this NOFA. The link to access the NOFA is below. I will ask if our facilitators who facilitate in the Teams and Facebook Live would drop this link into the comment section so that you all are able to have that. Once you click this link, you will be directed to our Housing and Community Development Department webpage, where you will have a menu of items. You click that menu drop down. You'll be able to find the funding contract opportunities located under the information for partners. Next. Under the funding contract opportunities, you want to click the Notice of Funding Availability NOFA. Once you click that, a drop down will come up and you'll see all the current NOFAs that's out for the Housing Department. This particular NOFA is Solicitation ID T314. Once you click that NOFA, next, you'll be directed to the City of Houston Strategic Purchasing website, where you'll be able to locate the actual Workforce Development Renovation NOFA, the ownership forms, along with the application workbook. Please be sure you review the NOFA in its entirety to make sure you include all the required documents with your submittal. Next. Public Facilities Program Priorities makes existing low and moderate income neighborhoods safer and more sustainable through construction, renovation, and acquisition of public facilities and improvements in Houston. The program focus for this 2021 NOFA will be on supporting workforce training initiatives by working with nonprofits and city departments. The program is funded through the Federal Community Development Block Grant CDBG program. Next. The NOFA purpose is to provide workforce and resilient development opportunities within the city limits. Special consideration will be provided for those proposed projects that's located within a complete community. It's open to nonprofit organizations and City of Houston departments. The proposal should suggest acquisition, renovation, or construction of workforce training facilities through the Public Facilities Development and Renovation Program, and should serve low to moderate income populations in Houston. Next. Project thresholds. Your project site location must have a City of Houston address. The agency's board of directors must be in good standing with the city, no back taxes owed, and with HCDD. Experienced nonprofit and city departments must have the management capacity to operate the program. A maximum of $4 million will be awarded through this NOFA. All projects must meet a national objective, serving at least 51% low to moderate income persons. Eligible activities include new construction, rehabilitation, acquisition, and demolition with reconstruction. Ineligible activities consists of projects located within a 100-year floodplain, multifamily apartment development developers, purchase of equipment, fixtures, motor vehicles, furnishing, and other items that are not integral structure fixtures. Next, you will hear from Ana Martinez.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to see a lot of faces that we know and have worked with in the past. I want to walk you all through the priorities and selection criteria. So as Sharonda mentioned before, complete communities are going to be a priority for us this time around, as will, the community benefit, project feasibility, management capacity, funding leverage, as well as a new one for us, which is workforce and resilient activities. Next slide. This here is a map that's also included in the NOFA reflecting the 10 complete communities. These will be our targets, as well as any other CRAs, which in this case would be TERS areas. Next slide. Resilience standards for new construction and workforce development. So applicants will need a minimum of 10 points from the resilience list. This list is actually in the workbook that was included as part of the NOFA. So you'll see it there fully broken out. What we're looking at is building protection and adaptation, backup measures, community amenities, green building standards, sustainability, equity approach, job placement and training, career and technical education. Next slide. So this is actually a view of what you'll see in that spreadsheet that I mentioned. Each of these areas, you'll need either one or two. It'll indicate in the workbook. You'll need to either select and apply either one or two of these to your application. So equity approach, again, we're looking at, multilingual services being offered, diversity, equity, and inclusion training, disability awareness training. I won't read through all of these, but I'll highlight the ones. Job placement is key for us. Area of focus for workforce, also training in these categories listed here. With regards to resiliency of the actual project, we worked with our city resiliency office to identify, what are the priorities there. So protection is going to be important. And I apologize, some of these comments are coming through and they're blocking my view. Adaptation, backup measures, community, green building standards, and sustainability. So all of these areas were identified as top priority. We collaborated with both the Resiliency Office, like I mentioned, as well as our city's Complete Communities Department on all of these. Next slide. Okay, pre-construction and construction terms. So the selected, agencies, either nonprofits or city departments, will be responsible for the selection of architectural and engineering firms, as well as the general contractor. We do want to highlight, however, that the agency will have to follow the city's procurement requirements. Specifically with the general contractor, this will require an open bid process. Agency must perform a third-party independent cost analysis. This is something that will have to be done typically when we have a project that's funded in partnership with another lender, something that they require as well. But we'll need to get that third-party cost review for all contracts that are awarded. Liability and bond insurance will be required for all construction projects. Phase 1 environmental site assessment will be required as a part of the proposal. Of course, if additional needs for additional environmental testing, phase 2 are identified, that would be required as well. Acquisition and construction must be complete, and the facility must be complete and in service within 24 months. Next slide. Okay, this is kind of the fine print and the disclosures. This NOFA does not commit the city to award any funding, contract, to pay any costs incurred in the preparation of the proposal or funds, or to procure or contract any services or supplies. Applicants shall not, under penalty of law, offer any gratuities, favors, or anything of monetary value to officers or employees of the city for the purpose of influencing favorable disposition towards his or her own proposal or any proposal submitted. Next slide. Debarment. This is also important. We run checks for every award, and not only the agency applying, but also any contractors or subcontractors will have to be cleared through sam.gov. Neither the applicant or the business or any principal owner, 20% or more, may be debarred. So that's a review of the federal process. Key scoring criteria. We're looking for nonprofit organizations, joint ventures, or city departments to submit applications under this NOFA. Site location. You're going to hear complete communities a ton of times here, but that's going to be one of the key priorities here. CRAs are also priority. And then also, like we previously mentioned, the 51% LMI requirement. So all projects will have to meet that national objective, whether it be that it's a 51% or more LMI area or a project that serves 51% or more clients. Next slide. Project information. So the key scoring criteria there, the community benefit and the support of the transaction, operations and management feasibility, workforce and resilient development and funding experience, site control, and timeliness of spending. The financial analysis will be, as part of our review, the committee will be reviewing the pro forma. The key there is making sure that not only are you able to build or acquire the facility that will be put in place, but that you'll be able to operate it and sustain it long term. Cost analysis that will be tied specifically to the construction, and then a leverage analysis to ensure that the city won't be funding anything at 100%. Next slide. So here I'll turn it over to Ms. Tawana Roan, who will be talking to us about the department's procurement procedures as related to the submittal of this NOFA.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tawana Roan. I am the procurement manager for the housing department. First of all, I would like for all of y'all to know that I know you guys love Anna and her team, and I know you love the mayor, and I know you love the council members. But let's get one thing straight. All communications must be sent in writing to Tawana Roan at HoustonTX.gov. Next, I'm sorry, I forgot to say next. Okay, yes. So no direct contact with the program area. After this pre-proposal conference is over, all your communications should come through me. And I cannot answer any questions verbally. I can't answer the questions anyway because I'm not the subject matter expert. So make sure that all your questions are emailed to me, and the questions must be submitted by September the 9th, 3:00 p.m. We collaborate, we put all the questions together, and then we send out a letter of clarification. Your letter of clarification will be on that website that you've seen at the previous, when we open up the meeting, and we just put it down here again so you know that all the questions will be answered by letter of clarification on that website. Okay, your final response will be issued by September the 13th. The responses to your answers. So if you're sending me questions, they're not going to be answered right after you send it. We're going to take all of them, put them together, and put it in that letter of clarification. Your application due date is Friday, September the 17th at 3:00 p.m. We will not accept them after that. And please do not get in any confrontation with the assistant at the front desk on the 9th floor, okay? Because she's only going to accept them. That's all she's going to do. But after 3:00, she will not accept them. And if you leave them in her presence after 3:00, we're not going to recognize them. I'm just giving you guys the law. This is the law. Okay, so make sure that you complete all the checklist items. And we're looking forward to having your applications. And once again, no communication with the program area, no mayor, nor the council members. All your communication after this pre-proposal conference will be done with yours truly, Tawana Roan. Thank you. Oh, next, am I? Okay. Well, here's your estimated timelines. We can go over that. Your application due date, as we said, September the 17th. Threshold review completed and amendments due October the 8th. And Anna, if you want to add something to this, you can. If you want to add something. No?
No, I think you're
Oh,
right on. You know,
okay.
threshold review is going to be complete on October 8th. You know, we'll let you know at that point if there's any supplemental information needed, and that's where the amendments would be due.
All right, and then the award announcement will go out on November 1st. And the underwriting project review committee is 120 days. And the housing committee meets on the third Tuesday of each month. Document preparation and city council approval 4 weeks after housing subcommittee approval. So thank you guys for your attention. All right, next presenter.
Hi, I'm Mike Forenza. I will be the project manager overseeing the construction as well as the ADA. You can go ahead to the next slide, please. Thank you. With the funding that we have, we are required to have ADA standards on this project. In addition to Texas accessibility standard, you will also possibly, if you have any kind of housing on these projects, fair housing will come into play. But for all the projects, for sure, the 2010 ADA standards with the accessible design with the 11 HUD exceptions is very, very important. That you need to let your architect know immediately that you have to use these standards in your plan, because it's really difficult to go back and add them later. It's also very expensive because it slows down your timeline. One of the things that you just need to be aware of is that not only does this slow your project down if your construction doesn't have this in there or it's done wrong, it's something that that you could be sued for by someone that's visiting your site after you open it. So please, this is very important. Again, I'm going to say the title so you can hear it a couple of times. It's the 2010 ADA Standards, Accessible Design with 11 HUD Exceptions. Next slide, please. To make sure that the project does meet the standards, you will have to have a third-party ADA consultant review your plans. They will make comments. You'll send them back to your architect to have your architect redraw them or correct them. And then depending on the severity of the issues in the very beginning, they might have to go back to the third-party consultant and have them verify that the corrections were made actually did correct it and didn't cause additional problems. Once your pre-construction review is completed, construction will start. And when you reach about 50% or to the stage where you have studs up, your plumbing is roughed in, you have electrical boxes in place, maybe not wired, but in place, you have your electrical panel in place, there will be an inspection done by your third-party ADA consultant, just to make sure that your walls are in the right place, that your doorways are fine, your plumbing is in the right place, and your electrical outlets and switches are properly at the proper height. Again, once that's complete, they will issue a report. The GC will then have to make the changes, and then once the project is completed, you will then have them back out again to do the final inspection, and that final inspection will be throughout the whole project. Your flat work, all your doors, your thresholds. So that one will be completed. Again, you'll get a report. The GC will have to make any kind of changes to correct any of the issues. At that time, once all those are done, then I can release your project to as complete. Next slide, please. We do have green building standards that all the projects must meet. There are 3 of them for new construction and 1 of them for rehabs. You must pick one of these to and certify it. You're not only can you say, oh yeah, we're going to be Energy Star, but you have to be able to certify that your building, when completed, will meet the Energy Star standards, or the Enterprise Green Community standards, or the IC 700. So you will have to have, again, your architect needs to know this immediately or at the start of your plans, so they can design the building to have one of these in it. And I think that is it for me. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. If you could mute your mics if you're not presenting at the time, just to make sure we don't have any background noise. I am Crystal Boyce, Division Manager for the Contract Compliance section within the Compliance and Monitoring Division. For the purpose of this meeting discussion, I will be going over a few compliance requirements that will be subject on project activities. These discussion topics are related to the Minority Women-Owned Small Business Enterprise, the Section 3 program, as well as the City of Houston Pay or Play policy. Next slide, please. For those of you who may not be familiar with the City of Houston's Minority Women-Owned Small Business Enterprise program, project activities will be subject to these requirements as well as federal requirements in effort to maximize participation by minority women-owned small business enterprises. Construction activities will be advertised with a 34% minority women-owned small business enterprise goal. The breakdown for that goal requirement is 23% MBE and 11% WBE, with SBE substitution capped at 4%. You will be connected with a pre-award coordinator that will connect you for informational purposes in more detail in regards to the required documents that will be expected to be included in any solicitation documents for that potential general contractor. You will be expected to make a good faith effort to meet these program requirements. If you are looking to hire minority women-owned small business enterprises to do your participation or to help you meet your participation goal requirements, feel free to visit the link that you see on this page, www.houston.mwdbe.com, so that you can access the certified MWDBE directory that has over 3,400 certified vendors. The great thing about this directory is that you can filter through that list based on the specific designations or commodity codes. Next slide. Section 3, for those of you who may not be familiar with Section 3, Section 3 is a program that was implemented by HUD in an effort to generate economic, employment, and training opportunities on certain HUD financial assistance as it relates to housing construction, public construction, and any type of infrastructure type of projects. Any contractor with a contract in excess of $100,000 will be subject to comply with Section 3 program requirements. There have been a few changes recently with HUD requirements as it relates to those goals. And so I want to make sure, if you're familiar with the program, just make sure you pay really close attention to the goals as well as the Section 3 business concern and Section 3 worker criteria. Any contractor with a contract in excess of $100,000 will be subject to comply with these numerical goal requirements. In no particular order, they are as follows. At least 10% of your construction budget should be directed to a Section 3 business concern. Also, at least 3% of your soft cost budget should be directed to Section 3 business concerns. There is an employment goal. At least 30% of any newly hired employees on your project should be directed to Section 3 workers. So that means if you have a need to hire any new employees on your project, those opportunities should be directed to Section 3 workers that are identified within our Section 3 directory. Here's the new goal that has been added as a benchmark. At least 25% or more of the total number of labor hours worked on these projects will be subject to hire Section 3 workers. So that means that your workers that are performing on the project, at least 25% of those employees should be Section 3 workers. Next slide. In definition of a Section 3 business concern and as well as a Section 3 worker, for those of you who may be familiar with the program, you may be familiar with the previous term, which was a Section 3 resident. That term has changed, and so now we will refer to a Section 3 employee as a Section 3 worker, as well as the criteria to certify as a Section 3 business. This is an area where you definitely want to pay very close attention because the criteria to certify under these have changed. Okay, and so in order to certify or provide evidence that you meet one of the following as a Section 3 business concern, you must provide evidence that you meet one of the following. At least 51% or more of your company is controlled by a low and very low income person. The next criteria would be if over 75% of the labor hours performed for that business over the prior 3 months are performed by Section 3 workers. And the last category under that business concern is if at least 51% or more of your company is owned and controlled by a current public housing resident or residents who currently reside in Section 8 assisted housing. So you will be expected to provide evidence that you meet one of the three. Again, if you're not presenting, please make sure that you meet your, thank you. All right. Section 3 worker, the changes that have come with the Section 3 worker in order to identify as a Section 3 worker, you must provide evidence that based on HUD's annualized income chart, which is based on your total household size. And if I'm correct, I think for the updated 2021 income limit charts, for a household of 8, the income is around $83,000. And so, of course, if your household size is a little below that amount, it will be based specifically on your household size and income. And so a Section 3 worker would be someone who fits or when hired within the past 5 years, fit one of the following categories. Again, your household income size does not exceed what HUD published income limits are for that particular year. The worker is employed by a Section 3 business concern, and or you are a participant of one of the local youth build programs. In order to complete the certification process to certify as a Section 3 business concern or as a Section 3 worker requires for you to follow the links that are provided. We also have the new digital application for our Section 3 workers. So we're trying to go a little bit more digital and go away from any type of emails, which can be lost with connections. And so with the Section 3 business concern application, you will go through B2G Now. If you're not familiar with that, we definitely can provide you additional instructions, which can be found on our departmental page under compliance Section 3. But you will follow the requirements of that application link where you can submit and upload all of the supporting documentations through B2G Now. As it relates to the Section 3 worker applications, if you feel more comfortable with submitting the application via email, that's still acceptable for the time being, but we strongly would encourage you to utilize the digital platform, which also allows you to upload those documents. For more information about the Section 3 certification process, you can feel free to visit the link that's provided on your screen. We do have our online directory that includes I'm very ecstatic about that, nearly 500 Section 3 workers. And so you are able to actually identify the proximity of those workers with your project. You're also able to filter through that directory so that you can filter with the trades and the skills that those employees also possess.
Pay or Play. So Pay or Play is a program that was implemented by the City of Houston in an effort to level the playing field for vendors that offer healthcare benefits versus those that do not. For any contractor that's performing on this contract with a contract in excess of $200,000 for activities such as those that will be on this project, construction, any type of services, professional services, you will be subject to comply with these requirements. So please make sure when you are thinking about those great contractors that'll be working with you, if you're not the owner developer, make sure that these contractors understand that there will be compliance requirements that they must adhere to. And so Pay or Play would be one.
And then will we be sharing this video? Yes, I believe it'll be recorded. Ashley, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it made available on our website, or where will they be able to access it?
Okay.
Just also put a response there that it'll be on the YouTube channel for the video.
Yeah, it'll be on my website, you know, right where they look at how to access the NOFA on the right hand side. That's where they put the video and any other information.
Great. Will the funding come in on a reimbursement basis during construction? Yes. So our payment draws are done every 30 days and they're based on actual work complete. Will future NOFAs for public facilities be forthcoming? We sure hope so. As more funding becomes available, you know, we're always keeping a close eye on what the federal government is doing, specifically right now, the infrastructure bill and what that could potentially mean for additional funding. As of right now, this is the only current funding source, but yes, we do hope to have other funding opportunities in the future. It's been a little while since we've put out a public facilities NOFA. I looked back at my notes and 2016 was the last one. So we're excited to see what you all are going to submit, and definitely look forward to future opportunities as well. I think she's scrolling to the timeline. That was one of the questions. Does City of Houston expect that grantees will also use new market tax credits? That is a possibility, but it's not a requirement.
And Sharonda, I'm sorry, but we need to leave in case if there is any question regarding Davis-Bacon requirement, you can send it to us and then we'd be more than glad to respond it. And then you and Tawana can go ahead and send it out to all these folks who has any question regarding DVRA. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you
All
you,
right,
Maribel.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so any, I guess, compliance specific for DVRA, if you all have any other comments, you can submit those in writing so that we can get those to Ms. Tawana. Is there a limit on how much one project can apply for? No, we didn't put a cap, but we did, you know, make sure to note there that, you know, $4 million is going to be the max awarded for the entire NOFA. So just a consideration there. And if anybody cares to unmute for additional questions, feel free to do so. You guys are going too easy on us.
Hi, this is Peter Bruton from Houston List. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just wanted to follow up on my question about just the timing of environmental review. And I think I heard you say that the environmental review process doesn't start, Anna, until your shop has done the underwriting. So as I look at the timeline, I'm seeing kind of 120 days for underwriting, and then that environmental review and Part 58 process beginning. So that if I heard that correctly, that would suggest that purchase option would need to extend for more than 120 days, maybe something like six or 9 months. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, the timelines are really hard to pin down and generalize, but I will say we put 120 days there. That includes not only the underwriting, but also our process of going through our project review committee. So I would say the environmental process starts somewhere before the 120 days. So again, the recommendation, I think, generally would be, if you're negotiating a sale contract, my recommendation would be 4, maybe 6 months at least, if you're able to get that. And depending on who the seller of the property is, that may or may not be negotiable.
Thanks for clarifying. I appreciate it.
This is Buck Simonians from ITEX. I may have missed, and I apologize. At what point, at what level do you require architectural drawings?
Those won't be due as a part of the application. Those will be due prior to you all putting the project out for bid.
Because the gentleman who was talking about ADA requirements, he did mention that he would require ADA design. So I didn't realize, I wasn't sure whether you needed before application, during the process, or after. So I just want to confirm.
It would be after. So most of the time with public facilities, and it will vary, but most of the time when you submit your application, 9 times out of 10, the architectural drawings will not be ready. So when we need the architectural drawings is we'd like to review them prior to the project going out for bid for the general contractor. And at that same time, if we have those final drawings, we can get that, that ADA third-party report done.
Thank you very much.
Hey Anna, this is Sheila Turner. How you doing?
Hi.
Hey, I've got a question in regards to. I know I've put up the question on the complete communities and the CRA and the TERS, but I know I see Jane Borkoff on here and representing Hart, but she's like one street. She's across the street from the CRA, and she's like maybe a couple of streets from the complete communities. I didn't know if there's any leeway on that particular, considering the population she serves.
Yeah, so unfortunately we have to stick to those boundaries that are drawn. But I will say, I mean, obviously it does impact the scores in that particular criteria, but that won't be a make or break. I mean, I would, advise obviously try to pick up points in some of the other areas would be the recommendation.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Nice seeing you guys.
You too. I think we may have some more questions here. Can organizations be granted partial amount of request, or is it all or nothing? So it's been a little while since we've gone through this process, but typically the way that it runs, it really depends on the amount of applications that we get, the number of asks. But there are certain circumstances where we may go back and say, well, can you make it work with X number of dollars? So there will be some negotiations that happen. You're not locked into that rate or grant amount. In the evaluation form, experience in public facilities is a major factor. Can this experience come from our contract team, like our architect? Yes, it can. We have 2 build-out options. They're quite different and depend on how much money we can raise. Can we submit both options, or should we pick one? The tricky part there is obviously once you submit a proposal, the scope is very important, especially with regards to environmental, because we're talking about footprint, and that's very important for their review. So let us do a little bit of additional research on that, and we'll get back to you. If you don't mind submitting that particular question to Ms. Tawana Roan in writing, so that we can get you a better explanation on what the recommendation is. I don't think I see any other questions. And again, if anybody wants to just come off of mute and ask questions, you can do that as well. Seeing none, I mean, we can go ahead. We'll stick around for a little bit in case anybody else has any other questions, but there are none others at this time. We can wrap. Thank you all so much for joining us. It was great to see all of you. I'm glad we had some good participation here.